All right. Headset.
Feed your mind and the rest will follow.
You start with figuring out what does health look like for me, physically, mentally, emotionally, and work really hard on being good at you.
Healthy mind, healthy body, healthy life. Soul Food on Smooth 98.1.
Love music and love life. This is Smooth 98.1. 2 minutes past 8 o'clock. It's a Saturday, the last Saturday in the month of March. Well, did I say happy Saturday? Happy Black Saturday or happy Good Saturday? Happy whatever it is, because I know Nigerians, we tend to put happy in front of almost every greeting. Happy weekend, happy Friday, happy Monday, happy Sunday. Anyways, you're welcome to the station that makes you happy with all the great program as well as the music. We are Smooth 98.1, and every Saturday from 8 till 8:30, we talk about your health and wellness from the physical to the mental. Today we are touching something that is not often discussed, and that is the topic of shame. And considering that we are in a society that uses shame to adjust a lot of things and sometimes keep people bound. So, this needs to be discussed. In the 7 o'clock hour, we've been talking about how you handle shame and how you deal with shame and move past it. So, we continue that this morning. I am not doing this alone because I am not a shame expert. But I do have a mental health practitioner with me in the studio. You can join us on YouTube. You can join us on WhatsApp. YouTube is youtube.com/smooth 981 FM Lagos. Again, youtube.com/smooth 981 FM Lagos. If that sounds confusing, just basically go to your YouTube app or website and search for Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Search for the hashtag SoulFood981 so that you can see any of the videos we've had on there and you can join this conversation. It's currently a live video that allows you to drop in your comments, also to ask your questions or just enjoy it and listen and share with your family and friends. That said, my guest, like I mentioned, is a mental health practitioner, and I think he's interested in a lot of things, including the lessons that come out of life, and he never fails to share that on his Instagram page. I'm referring to Olusegun. Yes, that's my name. That's my namesake, Olusegun Olaoke. Good morning.
Good morning, Oluwaseun. It's good to be here.
Yeah, it's good to have you here. Thank you for taking time out this morning on Saturday when people should either be sleeping or going to an
Right,
Owambe.
right. Especially because it's good Saturday.
Right. Or maybe some people should be eating their spaghetti and their
Let's
pasta.
not go there.
We'll get to that conversation later. But I'm curious. Now, this let me tell you, let me create a context for what's brought on this conversation. So I was just going through Instagram and I stumbled on his page, or rather his post. And one of the posts you talked about giving a listening ear
Yeah,
to those who want to rant.
absolutely.
And I'm thinking, well, this is something we don't think about it twice when we want to rant. We just, even on the street rather,
Yeah,
you don't need to do anything. Just say, this country now, wow. Before
yeah,
you know it, people will join you and
absolutely.
you start ranting.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, how did you decide to start, you know what, I want to make myself available for people to rant to? Because
Yeah.
I know it's all connected
Yeah,
to mental health.
yeah. Because I like to say that I'm doing this because Oluwaseun, I have seen Shege. You know what they call Shege? Do you know Shege? Shege.
Trouble?
I've seen trouble. I've seen Shege in terms of fear, shame, um, imposter syndrome, whatever it
Mm,
is. I've been through a lot, right? So when I always understand when people are in a kind of place in their minds, and I know that they want to talk about it. So I decide that, you know what, let me be that person because of my level of training. When I started to, try to understand fear, there was a time in 2016 that I was called the fear doctor. For a long time, I was the fear doctor. In fact, my handle was the fear doctor. So I was doing conferences on fear fighting and all of that. So I was helping people overcome their fears, not because I was the expert, but because I was also trying to overcome my own personal fears. So in the process of trying to overcome my personal fears, I did a lot of trainings, a lot of learnings. I went through a lot, and then I got the understanding of understanding fear and things like other things like shame. Right. So I now understand that when people want to rant, just like you said, we can rant anywhere. I can get into the studio and I just say, Rachel, and I would actually rant. The challenge with ranting just anywhere is that ranting only gives temporary relief. And I'm going to try to explain this.
Okay.
Ranting gives temporary relief. What happens is that for most people who rant, it is actually most times their first time of verbalizing their feelings, putting words to their feelings. So it is at that point where they write it or they say it that all of a sudden they just realize that, oh my goodness, so I'm actually going through all of this. At that point, it will most likely amplify what they're feeling. So at that point, when they rant, in the beginning, it feels like, I feel like a burden has been lifted off my shoulders. Then all of a sudden, especially if you rant online, if you go ahead and rant online, all of a sudden, people who are also going through pains will now tell you, in fact, more things that you have not said and amplify your pains. And that is why I always say that when you want to rant, it's actually better to rant in a safe space or rant to a safe person who understands, who can listen to you and can prefer or help you walk through the solution to your problems. And that's why I'm doing this.
That is a very key part because you think about it. Why do people rant? And how does ranting translate to you feeling lighter, feeling like a burden has been lifted off your
Yeah.
chest? Because so many people rant, and I'm thinking at the end of it, so what next? Because I sometimes I don't like it. It's one of the reasons I
Yeah.
don't like to rant. Because if I'm going to rant, I need a solution.
Exactly.
But many people rant without exactly, and I think some what I have noticed, when you rant without a solution in sight, it even amplifies the issue.
It does. All the time. It does. It amplifies the issue all the time. All the time. I mean, from research, it does.
So you need to get a professional rant listener.
If that's the thing, yes, you need to get somebody who can listen to you because again, it is in listening to you without being judged, listening to you to actually understand what you're saying and what you're not saying. Because in ranting, actually, a lot of people are saying things and not saying a lot of things. So, as a professional, I'm actually listening to what is not being said. Most times, the things you're ranting about are not the true problems.
So I'm trying to stay on the line here because I am tempted to say something. There were people who ran to you with the aim of you putting a stamp on their behavior.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And because I said that because of what you said, that somebody who won't judge you. There were times that if you ran to somebody, you actually need to be given to a knock because of what you have done.
Yeah, yeah, I get it. I get it. I get it. So it's everything, and that's why it's still very very not good for you to just open up. So a lot of people are looking for validation. Validation. What I have done. What do you think about what I've done? Some people are also. So let me talk about ranters. Some people are looking for solution.
Mm.
Some people are looking to feel
Emotional validation.
emotional validation. Some people are also looking to make sure that whatever it is they are going through is is nothing compared to what you may be going
Oh
through.
wow, that is evil.
Exactly. So when they rant to you, and then you now outshine the ranting, then they feel like, oh, absolutely.
I know that we are supposed to be on the topic of shame. I just needed to get that out of the way. But finally, on the topic of ranting, how do
Yes.
you address this thing? I don't know if it is a Nigerian thing or it is a human thing, where ranting becomes a competition. For instance, you say, my guy, I never chopped today. And then before you know it, the other person says, now only today you never chop.
Me, we never.
Since yesterday, in fact, last week, I've not even tasted anything called food. And I'm thinking, what's up?
What's going on? I think it's just maybe it's not just a Nigerian thing. I think it's a human thing where people invalidate other people's pains. And so when somebody says, for example, I'm really hungry, and the other person says, you know, feed day hungry. You can't be as hungry as I am. And in my head, I'm like, how do you measure it? How do you measure it? So in most cases, see, people are hurting, people are in pain, and hurt people would actually hurt people. A lot of people also want you to feel like what I'm going through is bigger than what you are going through. No, what I'm going through is bigger than what you're going through. So it feels like a competition, and yeah,
Right.
and it's really unhealthy.
Cruz on WhatsApp says, better call Elenu. I don't rant tire on our behalf. If you have anything to say, you can send it to WhatsApp 0809 444 0981. That was a good preamble. Now let's cross over to shame because that's what we really want to talk about this
Mm,
morning. Let's define shame.
mm.
How exactly do you define or describe shame?
I mean, so shame can be described in many ways. However, I would say that shame is that mild or intense emotional pain that comes from the belief that we are inadequate or
Mm.
we are flawed or we are unworthy, thereby giving you the feeling of being unloved, being not belonging, or being unwanted.
That sounds easy, but very complicated because I'm thinking, why would somebody, because of something, and I want to assume, we'll get to that, I want to
Yeah.
assume that there are things that trigger it.
Oh, absolutely.
So, why would you, because of one scenario, think that you are unloved, that you are flawed?
Yeah. So I'm going to I'm not here today to come to tell people that no, you can do it, just get out of the shame. No. My job as a mental health practitioner is to make people understand the root of problems. Because a lot of times we realize that a lot of people just deal with the surface. A lot of people just pluck the fruit and leave the root. So when they eat the fruit from the tree and it's sour or it's bitter, they just feel like this fruit is not good. No, there's a reason that the fruit is like that. So your question is, why would one thing happen? I wish that it's just one thing that happens that make people, you know, hide. But in most cases, there are stories. There are stories that have been written in the subconscious, in the soul, that people are not even aware of. Some people are aware of it, some are not even aware of it. So let me give an example. I, if I look at you, for example, and I say that, oh my goodness, Oluwaseun, you're looking so, no, not you're looking, Oluwaseun, you are so beautiful. Now, this is an external event. I just said something to you. If the information that you have within you, the deepest part of your soul, is that I am not beautiful, if you have believed it for the longest time of your life, whatever it is that I've said will not make any sense to you. As a matter of fact, the thought you're going to be having would be deceiving me that I already know that this. And then from that point, you now begin to feel, what is he trying to do? Is he trying to shame me? Oh, is he trying to say the opposite? And then it will not inform your action.
Mm.
So when something happens to people, and that's what will take me to the kinds of shame that we have. There's something we call the transient shame. So when something happens to somebody, you don't do well at work. Your boss calls you and says that what's this thing that you did with your report, for example, and the person feels embarrassed or feels that level of shame. Transient means that it
It's
will pass.
passing.
It will just really pass with time. It will with time, and when it passes with time, it's because in the subconscious of that particular person, there is no history of I am ashamed. There is no history that says that I am unworthy, I am unwanted in the depth of that person. However, where it gets to be a problem is the second one, when we learn shame from childhood. And it's as simple as learning from the age of 6 months,
Mm.
when the child has when the child cannot even do anything about what he or she is learning. As easy, as simple as a child of 6 months or 9 months gazing at his parent and expecting that gaze to continue for a long time, and the child is smiling, and the mother, for some reason, looks away from the child, and the child begins to feel like, I don't think I'm wanted. And that information is stored without the permission of that child. Sometimes it goes beyond all of that and then moves to, maybe as a child you are in school. Well, I mean, this thing happened to me for the longest time, and that's why I said I was dealing with fear, because for the longest time I could not express myself anywhere. I couldn't. I knew so much, but I could never answer a question in class. I would know the answer and I would tell my friend, and then my friend will be rewarded for my answer, and I'll feel bad because I grew up hearing different things without my permission, hearing things like, "What's this rubbish you're doing? What's the thing that you're doing?" I'll be very creative. I write storybooks, and I had somebody then who would say, "Kini in Yoruba, I don't know how you say it in English. Say talo ne panti.
What's this
What's
nonsense?
this nonsense?" Right? So I got that into my subconscious, and the problem with that is that there are two different things. So one says that something happens to somebody, and it says that this is a shame. The other one says that I am a shame.
Wow.
So when people get to the point where shame becomes their identity, becomes their core belief, is ingrained in their belief system, that is where the problem lies.
That is intriguing. If you're joining us for the first time, this is Soul Food, and we are talking about the psychology of shame. If you have anything to say or a question to ask, I'll say you get to it now because we might not have so much time to take all the questions at the end. Now, I have a message from Cruz who says, a whole big boy like me, and if you carry my babe go for weekend shopping, ha, I must hammer. Some types of shame are class based, coming from the perspective of peer pressure or societal competition.
Hmm.
And you know, when we started, I said from a society or in a society that actually uses shame to
Yeah.
curb and to form. So let's talk about those shame. Is there, I don't know if it belongs to any type of shame, but the one that comes from the society,
Yeah.
a certain standard, a milestone,
Mm.
a measure, a yardstick.
Yeah.
So, what do you call that? How do you deal with that? Or how do you identify it? Because the truth is, I realize that there are lots of things we do
Yeah.
that we do not even know that this does not have anything to really do with you. It's the society that laid it standard. For instance, who said this must be the order of your life? Go to school, primary school, secondary school,
I know.
university. Once you're done with university, get a job. Once you get a job, then you can now marry.
Yeah.
Who said you cannot marry in school?
Yes.
Who said you must? I mean, there are so many things that the society has lined up,
Yes.
and you might not know until you sit down to question things.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about that kind of shame.
So I'm going to ask you the question, Oluwaseun, who is the society? So because one of the things that we don't do is that we do not really sit down to question things. I always say that we're a group of people who only remember. A lot of people, especially in Africa, I'm so sorry to say, do not have the capacity to think. It's not like we're not thinking, but I don't think that we really have the capacity to think because our education system forces us to only just remember. So when you ask your teacher a question, that why is 1 + 1 2? He says, just take it the way it is. 1 + 1 is 2. So we don't have the capacity to ask the question why. So I'm asking that question. What is society?
The people.
The people, what people? So if I ask you now that, give me 5 names of society. Give me 5 names right now. Society, who are they? 5 names. In most cases, you realize that the cage of shame that we have put ourselves in, they are all formed by our own thoughts. Our own thoughts, in most cases. Now, society is not like society is invisible, but it's still invincible. Not seen, yet very powerful. Now, let me give you an instance. So I'm driving. I'm driving on the road, and I miss my turn. And then, for some reason, I keep going because shame is that powerful. Shame can make you continue to go in a wrong direction, even when you know that you are going in the wrong direction. So I keep going because in my head, especially when you have people in the car with you, because in my head, I do not want them to see me as inadequate. Society. Now it gets worse when I don't have anybody in the car with me and I miss my turn. And then I feel that the people driving around me would realize that this guy has missed his turn. It means he's inadequate. It means he's unworthy. It means he does not know what he's doing. So again, I ask you, what made me conclude that the people around me are thinking that way? Because in most cases, you see the rest of the people around me, they're probably thinking about how they'll get feel, how they'll sort their lives, but it means that all the thoughts that I'm having is coming from a place. And that's why I keep going back. Nothing means anything until you give it a meaning.
Okay, that's
Absolutely nothing.
honorable.
Nothing means anything until you give it a meaning. And that's why we always do something in psychology. We call it the TFA map. The belief system goes to the thoughts, goes to feelings, goes to action. Why is it that on social media, for example, somebody posts a very beautiful picture, right? And then he has like 1,000 comments saying, "Oh my God, this is beautiful! Wow, nice! I love it." Then one person comes and shames that picture, and the person leaves the 1,000 good comments and goes to attack that one negative comment. You know why? Because that negative comment is somehow validating what the person truly feels about himself on the inside. So again, to answer your question, society might seem like they have power, but there is no society. Everybody is clueless, especially society. What happens with society is that mystery loves company. So when you step out to do what is not on the template, what they are saying is that how dare you do what we are not able to do? How dare you free yourself? How dare you free yourself? Who are you? We're supposed to all be together. Let's all of us be together and suffer it together. So how dare you? How dare you? Again, society only exists in your mind. People always blend. You mentioned that I was doing media, right? I still do a bit of media. But as time I was a fear doctor, when I moved from fear doctor to I am Shagun and I'm doing what I'm doing, guess what? People, once you're able to come up, people are lying. People believe what you show them.
Hmm.
Yeah. They want to tell you no, not to do it. But if you stay there, people are lying.
Wow. This is some heavy dose as breakfast. And if you're joining us, I think you might have missed out on a lot, but don't worry. We have the YouTube stream for you, and it's on YouTube, youtube.com/smooth981FM Lagos. There is so much I want to ask. For instance, remember those times when we were growing up
Yeah.
and they would tell us to go and buy something?
Yeah.
And we miss what we ought to buy. Maybe
Yeah.
they said you should buy 50 naira bread,
Yeah.
and you bought 100 naira bread,
Yes.
and your mommy or daddy will tell you go back and return it.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
will kill some of us
Absolutely.
to return it. Why? Because maybe we don't want the woman to shout at us and say,
We don't want the woman to validate what we're thinking. We don't want the woman to justify and validate what we think that we are. Again, I'm going to say it that everything that matters is what you think that you are. No matter what is said outside, what you think that you are is what is fighting the battle. It's all inside. It's your belief system. If I entered into the studio and I called you in Kiruka, you would fight me because you believe that your name is Oluwaseun, even if I was there when you were named and you were actually named in Kiruka. But because you believe that your name is Oluwaseun, you would fight me and I'll call you in Kiruka. Say no, my name is Oluwaseun, because it's a core belief. It's a core belief system. So if people have a baby who sees a lion would walk to the lion because there is no belief or information that says that the lion is dangerous. An adult who says a lion would run because there is an information that says this is dangerous, right? So if there is no information within you that is causing any form of shame, if there's no story, it will not be shameful. You actually go and return it. But every time you experience those things, see, emotions are very good. Emotions are pointers. Emotions are signposts. They only just reveal our internal reaction to external events. Emotion. So shame is telling you that boss is a servant. It's telling you as boss, there is something in you that's about to be triggered. Should we protect you? Should we protect you? At that point, you now become the master and say, no, it's fine. It's nothing. No, it's fine. The problem is when the emotion now switches and becomes the master and you the slave.
wow. To say wow is to say the least. Now, before we even wrap this segment up, as the Oliver Twist that I am,
Yeah.
I want to book you for another session, maybe much later in the month. That's April, to talk about fear, because I see how it is linked.
Who's holding it?
And again, what you said, the scenario that I brought up reminds me of those times that you hear something like, any the person who sends you is the
Yes.
one you ought to be afraid of, not the one you're going to deliver the message to.
Yes.
And I see how it is linked to fear. In that time, you forget your shame.
Yes.
You won't even think, okay, if this woman slaps me, I
Yes.
don't care about your
Absolutely.
slap. I care more about the
The
person who
person who sent
sent
me.
me.
Yes.
So I'm thinking about the interconnectedness and why we also need to understand fear to a large extent. Not like
Yes.
we're going to have ample time, but at least just for us to identify the root of this.
Yes.
So after this, right after this, we will talk about how to handle it
Mm.
because part of it now we've identified the root.
Yes.
How do you free yourself from that cage that the
Mm.
society has put into, especially understanding what you said that nothing has a meaning until you give a meaning to it.
Yes.
Because earlier I had a message from Anna from Ikeja who said, there are things I feel shame about that I know I should not feel shame about it. For instance, my body, I
Yeah.
didn't create myself.
Absolutely.
These days, you see how we have the rise in body modification,
Yes.
cosmetic surgery,
Yes.
and you're thinking, why are you doing that?
Yes.
So, how do you handle shame? That's what we'll talk about right after this. If you're listening to us for the first time, this is Soul Food on Smooth 98.1, and we are talking about the psychology of shame. Do stay with us.
Everyone is welcome to Sukwa. To Smooth 98.1.
Wow.
Love music.
27 minutes in,
Sorry.
we're almost out of time.
It's usually very, because the truth is actually very intense.
Yeah, it is. And it's something that we need to talk about more often.
Yeah, I agree.
Crazy stuff.
I agree.
Because somebody once used the example used that nobody really cares. People have other things they're thinking about.
Absolutely.
And let me tell you, okay, so it was an experiment. Maybe I'll say it on air. It was not an experiment. So it was in church, right? And somebody said, "Do you remember the cloth I wore last week Sunday?" And we're all thinking. Because the truth is, there are people who will not go to church because they feel people will say I wore the same cloth that I wore last week. But they don't even remember.
I don't remember.
And it's crazy how we put ourselves under undue pressure simply because of what we think people are thinking.
That's what I said. That the entire cage of shame is caused by our own thoughts. Pretty much.
It's crazy, man.
It is.
Free yourself.
And it speaks to the soul. So keep listening to Smooth 98.1. Love music, love life.
Love music and love life. This is Smooth 98.1. We're almost at the end of the Soul Food Show for today, but we will not leave without telling you how to deal with the issues we have excavated, dug up, because these are deep running issues. And before the breather, we had a lot of things on what shame is and some of the things that cause shame and ingrain it. With the look of things, parents really have a whole lot of great, I don't know, they have a job on their hands to deal with this.
Absolutely.
So let's quickly jump into how you address this, especially those who something that they thought up in their mind as held them bound. I was just before we came back on air. I was telling my guest, and I said there was one time in my church, my pastor asked us a question: what do you remember the cloth I wore last week? And in that moment, all of us were trying to remember. And it was such a profound example because this is the person preaching.
Exactly.
In other words, all your eyes, your mind should be on him.
Yes.
But as much as our minds and eyes were on him, we did not remember what he wore.
Absolutely.
So now imagine a case where you say, oh, I don't want to go to church because this person would think this is the only cloth I have, or this is the only shoe I have.
Yes.
It was just your mind. Nobody remembers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you have other things. They have other things to think about.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So how do we deal with these things?
I mean, if you ask me, I would say that I always recommend professional help to help you deal with, because the truth is that there is a story. There's a story about your life that is making you hide. It is not the occurrence that is happening right now or that happened last week. It's a story about your life. It's your what you have concluded about that story that is making you stuck. However, if you're not able to, find professional help, just like you have said, the truth is that I feel like as humans we are too hard on ourselves. We're too hard on ourselves. Sometimes we just need to drop the ego and the pride and realize that, hey, come on, what's all this? What's all this? People are busy doing their own things. People are trying to figure out their own life. Sometimes when people are shaming you, it's not because of you, because of them. Hurt people hurt people. So naturally in this life, you will find a lot of people who just want to hurt you. Not because they wake up and want to hurt you or wake up they want to shame you, but because hurt people naturally hurt people. Another way to help yourself is to, constantly do affirmations,
Mm.
right? Do affirmations to reaffirm yourself of who you truly are before the society told you who you should be. Because the truth is that there's something that you were before society. So now I'm going to group society. Society could be parents, could be people that you love the most, people you respect the most, tell you how you should be. It's a society that will tell you that I want you to be yourself. And then when you start to be yourself, they say, no, 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 not like that. It means that they're saying, I want you to be yourself the way I want you to be. So you need to free yourself from the narrative or templates of society. I talked about affirmation, and then know that it's okay to once in a while feel shame. Feel it. It's an emotion. It's telling you something. Once you feel it, engage it. Ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? What's the reason? What's the story behind it? Is it true? Is it true? I'm unworthy. I feel I'm unworthy. I feel like I'm inadequate. Is it true? That story, is it true? And if you're able to consistently do this, at least it will get you to a point. I wish we could have, more time to really dig deep into these things. But then again, do not forget that it is always something about what you believe about yourself. Once you are able to address that or change your belief, everything is gone.
Thank you. I believe we will have another session and maybe 2 more, 3 more, 4 more because we need to talk about these things. And I'm grateful for your time this morning.
My pleasure.
Sadly, we need to say bye to everyone listening for now. And you're very active on social media. So, what's your handle?
My handle on social media is I am Shegon. I am Shegon is spelled Chegggon. I am Shegon. You'll not miss my Instagram handle. You'd find a lot of spaghetti there, so you won't miss it.
That's what he uses to touch me and everybody who watches. And I'm thinking, why do you wake up and just choose violence?
I don't know.
You're not even considering those who are fasting.
It's because I love you guys.
No, that's torture. But we're stuck with you, so there's nothing we can do.
Right.
Thank you for being a part of the show. Like I mentioned earlier, you can find the YouTube stream on YouTube. That's where you find YouTube. So go to our page, that's Smooth 91 FM Lagos, and you see the stream that we titled The Psychology of Shame. You can drop your comments there if you still have any, and then you can also enter the DM of my guest to ask a question if you have any for him. The next time we will be talking about the psychology of fear with him, and maybe just tie up some loose ends on the topic of shame because they are interconnected and some society expectations and how you break free. Reminds me of the Bob Marley song, Emancipate Yourself from Mental Slavery.
That's it.
Yeah. All right, we're not done yet. On the other side, I'll be joined by the children between the ages of 6 to 15. And we always have a swell time. So tell them if they're between that age range to start dialing the WhatsApp number because, network and you have many calls coming in. So WhatsApp line 0809 444 0981. I'll be right back.
You start with figuring out what is healthy.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
It was beautiful. Oh, let me put it in the stream.
hard on being good.
Healthy mind, healthy
Always
body,
very cold in
healthy
here.
life.
I know, right?
Soul food on Smooth